Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Maya Williams. I use AM, they, them, and she, her pronouns, and I'll be reading poems this morning. It's so nice to see some familiar faces as well as a lot of new faces this morning. My poems have a heavy focus on ritual in regards to Black Christian traditions. Rituals I've grown to love, rituals I've grown to question, and rituals that bring a righteous anger in me as a mentally ill suicide survivor who has faced a lot of grief in a short span of 28 years. I'll be reading poems about religious-related trauma, grief, suicide, and family-related trauma. If these are subjects that are too close to home, please take care of yourselves as needed. If you need to leave the room, if you need to stay hydrated, if you need to use earphones or headphones, if you have them, know that you can do that at any time, as many times as you need throughout. If these are subjects that are unfamiliar to you because of your lack of lived experience with them, I encourage you to lean into what's being shared. Thank you for learning along with us. I may also banter in between poems, as that is a ritual I have developed as I continue to perform in public. If you have your own ritual when witnessing a performance by snapping or making your comments known out loud, grunting, sitting, meditating in silence, please engage as you desire. And thank you all for making the time to listen. So this first poem is inspired by the poet Kaveh Akbar. He wrote an incredible poem about orchids and funerals, so I decided to write about action figures and funerals. This poem is called Papa J's Gone Like Iron Man, Isn't He? Action figures escape from Papa J's casket. Action figures flash out of unfamiliar acquaintances' phones. Event programs of pre-cancer Papa J are picked up as every attendee's personal action figure. Each daffodil in the sanctuary is an action figure bright and ready for battle. Women are rocking their action figure ornamented church hats. Men are stunting in their action figure church ties. All accessorized adornments are action figures that have been taken out of hiding from their closets. Bees buzz action figures near the window. Windows reek action figures too. Bible pages are flipped open by the pastor, and action figures spill out from everyone. The pulpit is an action figure. The microphone is an action figure. The organ is a whole ass action figure, as well as the notes that spew out of it. Walls are all action figures. Seats are all action figures. People seated soon become action figures. Liam, age 7, is right about the conclusion of all our favorite heroes. Thank you. There is a practice known as speaking in tongues, and essentially that's when someone is in communication with God and only that person and God know the language that they're talking through. And this poem is called My Therapist Told Me You Don't Need to Attend a Church That Doesn't Love You. And years later, I remember the pastor at Parkland Emmanuel who spoke in tongues. I remember the choir director at Second Liberty who spoke in tongues. I remember my mother spoke in tongues once. When was the last time I spoke in tongues in a church? I speak in tongues before I enter a theater. I speak in tongues before I enter a school. I speak in tongues before I enter a prison. When was the last time I spoke in tongues in a church? I speak in tongues when I'm driving. I speak in tongues when I'm making love to my future spouse. I speak in tongues when I hear my 2-year-old nephew's laughter. When was the last time I spoke in tongues in a church? I speak in tongues when I wash my hair. I speak in tongues when I comb my hair. I speak in tongues when I scrunch my hair. When was the last time I spoke in tongues in a church? This next poem is called How to Learn the Wrong Way to Grieve. Accompany your grandma Reese, your aunt, your uncle, and your siblings to your Pa Rich's plot. Arrange the fake red flowers in a vase with the knowledge of how your grandmother will want to exchange them seasonally for brand new pink plastic flowers. While on your knees, about to pray for Pa Rich's release, don't argue with your grandmother as she forces you up by your elbow and drags you to her car. Let her shout, "Stop that! It won't bring him back." Let her finish her arrangements. Let Uncle Ricky and Aunt Karen continue to say nothing. Let all three of your siblings continue to say nothing. Let yourself dust the dirt from your knees. Learn to never do that again as you visit Parrich's grave every year. Don't let her know you already know he's not coming back. Don't let her know that all you wanted was to cry it out. Don't let her know that you wished everyone would cry with you. When you bring this to her attention, when you're old enough and brave enough to do so, and she widens her stare at you to say, "Oh, I don't even remember that," keep your tears in. This next poem is called Side Effects of Prayer, and it's inspired by Shira Ehrlichman's poem, Side Effects of Lithium. Side effects to prayer may include enlightenment, a closer relationship to God, questioning who the fuck God thinks he is, scratching due to lack of other grounding techniques, frustration, reading scripture, a forced linear relationship with God, questioning all the people and systems who told us our relationship with God had to be linear, answered, unanswered, half-answered, incorrectly answered prayers, unanswered prayers, the ability to crave signs, the ability to assign free will or fate, performative survival, survival that gradually feels more real, seeking multiple definitions of the word miracle, therapy despite your family members' protests, isolation that helps, isolation that doesn't, community that helps, community that doesn't, trying to bless or damn something yourself, writing prayers to have personal receipts of how much God has accomplished, writing prayers to have personal receipts of how much bad shit God allowed to happen, seeking multiple definitions of the word evil, making Christians upset for finding humor in non-religious jokes, making Christians upset, having grief for past versions of yourself. Thank you. This next poem is from my collection, Judas and Suicide, and there are various poems that is a response to a piece of scripture that highlights an attempted suicide or a completed suicide or suicidal ideation. And this poem is called Curses, Suicide, and Just Pray About It. And I'll read the Bible verse first, and then I'll read the poem. So the unclean spirits came out and went into the pigs. Then the herd rushed down the steep slope into the lake, and about 2,000 were drowned in the lake. The book of Mark, chapter 5, verse 13. I jump off and hold my breath. My father asks, "Can you focus on having fun today at the lake house? There is trouble in your spirit." Bubbles rev through my nose as I sink. My father says, "You can't change the past." He never says that when I describe a positive memory to him. I want to keep myself from floating up. I try to. I hold it all in so the lake can swallow me. The coward in me returns for air. My dad affirms, curses can be broken. Just pray about it. I did not conjure my depression. I do not tell him there is little to no correlation between prayer and wellness. I ask if we could go swimming again tomorrow afternoon. Thank you. This next piece is called Spiritual Bypassing, and this is a sestina. If all four of us as siblings told my dad to go to therapy, not just one of us, he'd actually do it. It took all four of us as siblings to tell my mom of her husband's abuse, not just three of us, for her to leave him. Each time my parents said, "Let go and let God," it was an act of spiritual bypassing, according to my therapist. My brother once told me God is his therapist. I told him God was the one who told me to go to therapy. The whole "let go and let God" phrase, and others like it, is a tool to repress feelings rather than express them, I told him. Sometimes it is a tool used for abuse. My stepmother doesn't know she uses her words to abuse. Psychobabble is how she described the advice of my therapist. You only need you only need therapy to process shit about him, not me. She liked it better when me going to therapy had nothing to do with her. My sister has been going to it, using it to her advantage while reclaiming let go and let God. The phrase let go and let God is not the only way of spiritual bypassing. Substance abuse, grinding under capitalism, plethora of ways to do it. Spiritual growth is a goal my therapist wants me to add, which makes me nervous in therapy. Which means it probably needs to be done, according to him. According to him, I need to continue unpacking my family's let go and let God mantra. It'd be different if my family couldn't afford therapy, but the majority of them can. Abuse is what the majority of them don't want to talk to a therapist about. It's also what they don't want to call it. My brother urges, I don't think all of it was like that. And I agree with him. He refuses to go to a therapist. Thank you. This next poem is in response to anyone who has said, like, oh, are you mentally ill because of, the darkness of demons or devils or things like that? Is that worth processing? And this poem is called The Devil is Concerned with More Pressing Matters Than My Mental Health Issues. I won't deny. He sure has been the ghostwriter of most of the DSM, transforming transness into evil, corrupt contagion, softening the blow of racism by labeling it aimless. I won't lie. A theologian once described Jesus as his favorite ex-boyfriend who checks in. I thought my least favorite was the devil with his unwelcome arrival in spirit. But he is way too busy to be the spirit that possesses me. The devil has an apocalypse to plan, filled with red-orange flames from the arrows of trusty horsemen, a supremacist army with desire for hell's manifest destiny, eugenic colonial power. He has other curses to conjure that have zero correlation with mental illness. Emotions do not equate an ailment. There's a difference between the thoughts I can control and the thoughts I cannot. Yes, pray for me. Only pray the right one next time. This next poem is called Good, Good Prayer, and it's so fascinating to me how it continues to be relevant. I want that good, good prayer. Not that talk to God so you don't have to talk to me prayer. I want that talk to God so you can talk to your people how you need to prayer. I want that good, good prayer. Not that welcome the Lord into your heart pontificating in public prayer. I want that welcome the Lord into your heart privately when you're ready prayer. I want that good, good prayer. Not that sending thoughts and prayers prayer from aimless Facebook comments or check-in text messages, impulsively obligatory while full of permission to forget. I want that I'm making my prayers float and move beyond my bedroom prayer that lead to holding someone or advocating in a way impulsively obligatory while full of permission to remember. I want that good, good prayer. Not that God doesn't want you swearing or speaking in slang prayer. I want that juicy, colorful, honest prayer. I want that good, good prayer. Not that he's in a better place prayer. I want that he was taken against his will, so how do we give others better reasons to stick around prayer? I want that good, good prayer. Not that God is not calling us to that now, surface level prayer. I want that God is calling to us and we're not leaving the sanctuary until we're done prayer. Thank you. This next poem is, that's not yet. Sorry. No, sorry. I was just giving you eye contact. This next poem is a villanelle called Have I Forgiven You? My capacity to forgive you fluctuates. There are days I don't even think about you, though the strongest memory of harm recapitulates. Now when my mind is triggered, my body no longer frustrates. At least, not all the time. I can't completely erase you. My capacity to efface you fluctuates. It is a calmer day when I can feel great, when I feel I can honestly pray for you. though it's still hard when the strongest memory of harm recapitulates. I'm learning how to only pray in an honest state of mind. It gives me comfort to not know how you are doing or living as life non-linearly fluctuates. I am still reconditioning how memory invalidates me while making sure to validate you. It surprises me when legitimately kind memories of you recapitulate. Living a life without you is one I don't believe complicates my need for affirmation, and I believe I will slowly forgive you. My capacity to forgive you fluctuates because of all the echoes of you that recapitulate. This is my grandma Reese and my niece Ashley in her lap. She has 11 great grandkids. Yeah. And this poem is called Miraculous. Grandma Reese is exactly how she raised her sons to view God. Miraculous. I feel her spirit when she cradles grandbabies and great-grandbabies in her arms to sniff their necks. The only perfection she calls to witness. I feel holy in her love when I hold her body in my arms. We both differ in our definitions of perfection. Thank you. So this next poem will actually be part of an exhibit at the Portland Public Library. My poet laureate term came to an end. My outgoing ceremony is in September, and the last few lines of this poem will be in the exhibit in the library in September. It's called In Memoriam, after Jenny Booley. Not a casket, but an urn. Not an urn, but an ornament. Not an ornament, but a memory. Not a memory, but a door. Not a door, but a window. Not a window, but a breeze. Not a breeze, but a sigh. Not a sigh, but a sunray. Not a sunray, but a rain cloud. Not a rain cloud, but a bed. Not a bed, but a wound. Not a wound, but a sore. Not a sore, but a hug. Not a hug, but a gaze. Not a gaze, but a breath. Not a breath, but an ending. Not an ending, but a beginning. I'm coming out with a chapbook in September through Garden Party Collective, and thank you. And the title poem I'll be reading is What's So Wrong with the Pity Party Anyway? What does it mean to create our own rituals in the midst of our grief? We can discuss the nuance of privilege and circumstance later. Right now, I want purple streamers and glitter scattered on the floor at my pity party. I want the perfect beanbag chairs for me and my guests. I want my guests to have an in-person and Zoom option. I want people to live tweet my pity party so the public can tune in. I want my pity party to be a cozy 3 hours. I want folks to know they can leave as early as desired. I want a sober punch bowl and a spiked punch bowl appropriately labeled. Want all the best flavored and styled Cheetos. I want all the Oreos because they're kosher, vegan, gluten-free, halal, and gay-friendly, damn it. I want Oreos for everyone at my pity party. I don't know about you, but I'll be wearing my teal dress I call Old Faithful with black sweatpants underneath. I want to see a full range of red carpet looks from animal jumper PJs to diamond-studded gowns at my pity party. I want people to dress up however they want at my pity party. I want a good-ass playlist with every song using the phrase pity party so we can boo to it, sing along to it, see how often one can do the Macarena to it. I want there to be plenty of wailing and screaming. I want there to be a comfy room for anyone with sensory overload from the wailing and the screaming. I want 15 therapists properly compensated to staff my pity party. And their own therapists can come along too. I want the open space for me to cry and make out with my fiance after a long day of us both being peopled out. I want my pity party to be accessible as fuck, because we all have something to express pity about. We all have something to grieve about. There are days I'm sure we won't want the pity party to end. Thank you. Do I have time for one more poem? Is it Q&A time? Okay, this is the last poem, and it's one of my favorite poems I love to read, because Black people are holy, and Black people are wonderful, and we're still here. I love it when Black people ask, "How you living?" More intentional than any "how are you doing" I'll be asked in my lifetime. How you living? Just trying to be more like you. The warmest hug from my friends and favorite cousins I desire after not seeing them for so long. How you living? You know how it is. And the in-house check-in I can trust. How you living? Just hanging. The middle finger to suicide affecting our communities and the slap in white supremacy's face for wanting us dead. How you living? You know you're my homie, right? The angel on my shoulder pushing me to be more open about my curses in order to obtain more blessings. How you living? You know I love you, right? The permission we call a prayer to live at all. Thank you.